Again, welcome to the Proven Wholesale Sourcing Training, brought to you by my company, FBA Wholesale Hybrid, obviously in partnership with Jim Cochran Coaching. And the focus is going to be sourcing, creative wholesale sourcing strategies using Smart Scout. We developed an internal system here, process for really dialing in wholesale sourcing. Smart Scout is our go-to tool for that. It's a great tool as well for finding reblends. So as you guys learn it, figure it out, it's going to be an awesome tool for that as well. So just a few disclaimers up front. At the advice of my accountant, I have set up a company. My coaching company is called FBA Wholesale Hybrid, but we do not have any private coaching offers. So I just want to make that clear up front. If during the course of the training you want one-on-one coaching, you want to come out to my warehouse and do the in-person coaching, any of that stuff, it's all brought to you through Jim Cochran Coaching. So like I said, I don't have any private offers myself. So for any one-on-one coaching, any in-person coaching, please reach out to the Jim Cochran Coaching office. All of that should be routed through him. So or through that group there. So okay, so I'm seeing a couple notes that the sound is fading in and out. I moved my microphone closer. Hopefully that helps. Does it sound any better? I got a new microphone, so hopefully it's working well. And I'll just continue to speak loud. Okay. So let's move on. Let's just want to kind of introduce myself and the program here. So it is a 7-week program that we're going to put you through. Each call is going to be roughly 60 to 90 minutes, and then we're going to have a Q&A at the end of each session. So we'll take questions that I see on Facebook, and we'll see if you're joining us on Zoom, just put your question in the chat, and so we'll see those questions there as well. So today, we're really just going to talk about the basics, getting started with wholesale. We'll go over some Amazon basics, kind of what I feel is a good foundation for an Amazon business, a strong, solid wholesale business. And we'll talk, and then we'll get into intro to wholesale and a little bit of intro to Smart Scout. The way I like to structure my coaching is very systematic, if you will, and it's very kind of stair-stepped from the very basic into more advanced stuff. So I think you will notice as we go through here that the very beginning of it is going to be very basic stuff, and we're going to build it's kind of like building blocks onto it to the more advanced content. So it will take us a few weeks to actually get into Smart Scout and our deep dive into Smart Scout there. I do that very intentionally because I want to teach you the foundation of wholesale, but then also teach you the manual processes of sourcing wholesale so that you understand exactly what we're doing once we get into using Smart Scout to do essentially the same thing that we're doing when we're sourcing manually, but we're going to be able to do it much more effective using Smart Scout. So you can see the rest of the schedule there. We will try to do calls every week. We'll probably skip the week of Thanksgiving just because so many people are going to be traveling and all the stuff that we have going on that week. So anyways, skip on through here. All right, so week 1, introduction to my team. This is my family here. My beautiful wife, Shelly, she has joined in the past. She's joined me on a couple of podcasts, the first couple. And then my kids, my oldest, Haley, she's 11. My middle child, Izzy, she's going to turn 9 here in a couple of weeks. And then our youngest, Oakley, she's 6. And then of course our dog's there. But this is my team. This is my why. I love being a girl dad and, you know, the challenges that it brings, but also the fun, exciting adventures that we have. So we just got back from Disney World just a few days ago. So I'm kind of struggling with a cold. I picked up a cold on the trip. So I apologize if my voice is a little bit raspy, but we did just enjoy a nice trip there. So this is my team, my FBA wholesale hybrid. This is my coaching team. These are the guys that are the leaders in my actual wholesale business. So my right-hand man here, Richard Clough, on the right here, he has been with me for a few years now. He kind of helped us, you know, right from the beginning. He helped when we were working out of the house. He'd work in the garage, in the back room. He'd help prep and label and all that stuff. And now he's my office manager. He's my wholesale sourcing manager. And you'll actually get to know him on these calls. He's going to join us on 2 or 3 of them to teach some of the stuff that he teaches. He's a huge part of our team here, and you know, he's fantastic. So one of the things that the common feedback that we always get when people come and visit us for our in-person is that they need to find themselves a Richard to add to their business. So I think you'll get to, when you get to know him, you'll see that as well, that he's such a huge part of what we do here. Then further to the right here, Rome, he's my warehouse manager. And then on the far right, Nate, he's my buyer. And then to the left, we got Brad, he's my shopper. And he is also my replens manager. So everything replens and creative bundles and that sort of stuff is him. And then Justin on the far left there is our assistant warehouse manager. So this is my team, at least as far as it goes, the management team, and also my coaching team. Like I said, we still do the 4-day in person. So if that's something that you're interested in joining us for, we would love to have you. Our next one's coming up December 6th through the 9th. We still have a few slots open if anybody wants to join us for that. And these are the guys that participate heavily in that coaching while you're here. So. Make sure it's muted. There we go. That's better. Okay. There we go. All right. So everybody who has seen my proven conference presentation has seen this part, but I wanted to go through it again because it's something that we like here. The Liger. Yep, Scott. So for those of you who have not seen Napoleon Dynamite, this next clip is from Napoleon Dynamite. I first saw this when I was in college. One of my buddies said we had to go up to Scottsdale and see this new independent film. Went up there, watched it, and honestly thought it was pretty ridiculous the first time. But then, you know, it was re-released by MTV, and I watched it again and again. And the more times you watch it, the funnier it gets, the better it gets, I promise. So this little clip, it's a short, like 37-second clip, but we'll let this play.
You trying?
Liger.
What's a liger?
It's pretty much my favorite animal. It's like a lion and a tiger mixed. Good for its skills and magic.
No, so I love it. Oops, don't want to go through that again. So for us, Liger is kind of our business model for growth and for learning new processes. And so the acronym there for Liger is learn. You know, in this case with wholesale, you know, we're learning a new skill, a new process. let's dive in, let's learn it as good as we can. And then we're going to implement all the things that we teach, like, the value prop website, our value add approach, the sourcing strategies we'll teach you through Smart Scout. You need to implement them, grow and expand your business, and then we'll repeat the process. So for us, it's just a fun little, reminder of what we do. My manager even had little mugs made so that we could remember that Liger is our internal business process here. So just some fun stuff that we like here. So it's all right. So we'll move on here. So I think most people are familiar with me. They probably heard a few of my podcasts, but I do want to get into a little bit of my story, and then kind of what Wholesale Hybrid is, and we'll go on from there. But for those of you who are not familiar with me and my story, we started selling on Amazon 6 years ago. Our entrepreneurial story goes back 7 though. So when about 7 years ago, a little over 7 years ago, I was at my job, and I worked as a sales executive for a distributor of electronic components. And my largest account at that time had just gotten purchased by a company in India. And I was worried that overnight, that about 60-70% of my income was just going to disappear. And so I came home that day and I told my wife that my largest account had just been purchased by this company in India, and I was worried that they were going to move all the production to India and all that. And so we started looking for ways to make money at home. And after a lot of research, we kind of stumbled upon photo booths. And so we decided to launch a photo booth business and ended up starting a full event business. We now have 2 photo booth divisions. We have a bubble soccer rental company, and it's a business that we still do today, and it's something that we still enjoy. And for the last year and a half, that business has been pretty dormant, pretty dead. We went from about 30-40 events a month to probably about 12 over the last year and a half. And just this month, it's kind of come back. And I think we've had 26 events scheduled for October. So that's back in full force, which is kind of cool. But so again, 7 years ago, that's kind of where we started. We started adding the different, divisions of the business. And then 6 years ago, I was on Facebook and I noticed a post from a buddy. Him and his brother had started an Amazon business, and they were having all kinds of success selling on Amazon and doing FBA, and he's using terms that I'd never heard of, but it was intriguing. And so I started doing some research and looking into that, and realized quite quickly that was something that we should also do. So we almost invested in a pretty expensive launch course that he was kind of promoting on his Facebook post, but we ended up not doing that. Did some Google searches, found Jim Cockrum's community, and bought the pack 6 years ago. And because of my background in distribution and in wholesale, that's where we started. So at the time, it was the Proven Wholesale course, the original, I think 1.0 or whatever is what it was back then. So we started there. Great course. It is a Proven Wholesale 2.0 right now. Honestly, a very, very good course put up by Teresa. You should be checking that out at the same time we're going through this. I would highly recommend that. Got some great information over there. So then we started that 6 years ago. We did $45,000 our first 2 months in business. Year 1, we did about $350,000. Year 2, we hit $1 million. And then we were kind of stagnant at $1 million a year for 3 straight years. We had kind of become our own bottleneck, if you will, and me working full time, my wife managing the event business, we just didn't have any more bandwidth to grow beyond that. And so we reached a point where it was either just be happy with the $1 million a year and kind of stay there, or quit my job and really take it on full time. And that's what we decided to do. So it's been a little over 2 years ago, quit my job, got our first warehouse, made Richard a full-time employee, and it's just been gangbusters from there. So that first year after I quit my job, we ramped up from the 1.1 million we did the previous year to 2.6. And then this year we're looking at closing it at 3.5 to 4 million. So, and it's off the backbone of wholesale, but we did add replens January of 2020. So we've been doing replens now for a little over a year and a half, coming up on 2 years now. And it's been a great addition to the business. For us, it's a hybrid sourcing approach to Amazon where we do wholesale and replens, but it's all for us, it's this hybrid of replenishable products. And that's where the term wholesale hybrid comes. For us, it's anything that can be replenished. And our preference is to be able to do that directly with the brand. But if that's not possible, we are totally fine doing it at the local retail store as well, or through distribution. So that just brings us to this part of the presentation here, where for me, like success, I've kind of always been driven to like it being a part of me. I feel like it's my duty. It's important for my family. It's important for me personally. And it's also something that I feel is unlimited, and it's something that's available to everybody. You hear Jim on the podcast all the time saying that it's like candlelight, right? Like wholesale is not, it's another one of those things that there's enough for everybody. There's enough products on Amazon. There's enough brands that need our help that, we're not going to be running out of products and brands to help here. So it's unlimited. And one thing you will notice though, is it does take massive action to get into wholesale. You can get discouraged with the amount of no's that you'll get, because you will get a lot of no's. You'll have a lot of brands that don't like Amazon sellers and don't like dealing with us as Amazon sellers. So you kind of have to push through that. Now we're going to set up the foundation for success, and that's basically what today's call is the foundation that you'll need for success. And then from there, it's all about taking that action. So let's talk a little bit about mindset. Nathan Bailey has got a great website called Wiring the Brain for Success. You really ought to check that out if you haven't yet. But with wholesale, same with replens, honestly, like you just need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. For a lot of people, making those phone calls is uncomfortable. Sending out emails to strangers and trying to get accounts, it's uncomfortable. So get comfortable with that. I think this group here, with how familiar you are with replens, you're probably there, right? You're used to being uncomfortable. Checking out with a cart full of products can be uncomfortable. So I think we're there. Now don't wait until you're discouraged to decide you're going to continue. Right up front, I believe that anybody can succeed at wholesale. Anybody can succeed on Amazon as long as they don't quit. Right? I don't think it's a game that requires you to have a certain skill set or to have a certain education level. To me, it's about learning the right stuff and putting in the time and the effort to be successful, and you will be. Make that decision right from the beginning that you'll succeed. A lot of people, way too many people, they start this and they quit. So just decide up front that you're not going to quit, that you're going to be one of those people that put in the effort, that put in the, that follow what I'm going to teach you. I know that you can follow these steps and be successful because it's what we do each and every day. I'm not teaching you anything that we don't do. This is what we do day in, day out, and it works. So follow the process, watch these videos a couple times, and you will be successful. So, it's not an easy business, definitely not a get rich quick business, but rather it's a simple process. Once you have all the tools and training, you can be successful at it. All right, so let's dig in. Let's dig into these foundational concepts, what we need to do to get started, And so here it is. So setting up your wholesale business, honestly, I think these first 5 steps everybody needs for any type of business, whether it's replens, private label, wholesale. The first 5 I recommend for everybody. So set up your legal entity, your LLC, your S Corp, your C Corp, whatever it is, talk with your tax accountant, but set it up a legal entity, get your EIN from the federal government, and get your tax ID. If you don't have your tax ID, your resale license from your state, you definitely want to get it for wholesale. Most companies will not set up an account for you if you don't have that resale license. Some states call it a TPT license, a reseller permit. It's called different things in different states, but it's definitely vital. Okay, so then open up a business bank account. Highly recommend keeping all of your finances separate, your personal finances and your business finances. Keep it all separate. And then, of course, you need the professional selling account. So I think the vast majority, 95% or more of everybody on this call has got 1 through 5 in place. If you're missing any of those, think about it, get those set up. Now, 6 through 8 specifically are needed for wholesale. 9, again, back to everybody, really needs that one at $10,000 or above. But number 6, create a branded domain-based email. We don't use free emails in wholesale. So no Gmail, no Hotmail, none of those Yahoos, none of those free email services. If you think about it, if you were to go to your doctor and your doctor was going to send you some test results through email, and he sent you an email from drbob@gmail.com. Doesn't look very good, right? Same if like you went over to, Walmart and you wanted them to email you the receipt and they sent you a receipt from, mesawalmart@gmail.com. Like it's just not professional. The same thing goes for us as when we're reaching out to brands, distributors, manufacturers. We want to come off as professional as possible. And that first thing they're going to see there is your email address. So let's make it as professional as possible with your business name. You can do info at, sales at, your name at, and the business name is the domain. It's not something I recommend. It's something I think is required. And then number 7, we'll talk about this today, is create a website. It's not optional for a successful brand-based wholesale business. You can do it. You can have a successful replen business, a successful private label business on Amazon without a website. You're gonna have a really hard time with wholesale, especially with our approach of brand direct. Most distributors won't require it. Some will, but it's definitely something that I don't think is optional. I think you should do it for sure. Sorry, with my cold, just got a sore throat, raspy a little bit, but a lot of brands will not work with you without it. So there's 2 kinds of websites, right? We've got the value prop website and you have your e-commerce website. Both are great. Ideally, having both is a good idea. But if we're going to pick one, and let's just go basic with this right now, the value proposition website is what I recommend. We'll take a look at these examples a little bit later in the presentation here. But these are some really good examples of other companies that have a value proposition-based website where their whole website is focused on selling the value of their wholesale and consulting services and what they can do to expand a brand's reach on Amazon. So the e-commerce website is also great. E-commerce website obviously is where we're selling products. So the value prop website, we don't have any products on the website. The e-commerce, we do have our products. And what is a little bit more advanced will be great is to have several niche sites even. So you have your website for, when you're sourcing home improvement type products. You have another website for your say sporting goods products, another one for your grocery products, so that when you're reaching out to different brands within different niches, you're sending them a different website to review. So they'll see your value proposition website, and then they can also see your niche site. So if you can do both, both's a great idea, but definitely the value proposition is the place to start. And if you're only going to do one, I recommend the value proposition website. So, number 8, also need to kind of know where you're going to operate from. In the world of wholesale, having a commercial address is huge. It is highly recommended, but not required. And obviously it's not something that everybody can do. So in your search for a commercial address, now whether if you can get if you're in the position to get a warehouse, that's great. If you're not, you can come up with other creative solutions to commercial address. So one would be a UPS box. Go to your local UPS store and get a box. You use the UPS store's address as your address, and then use your box number as your suite number. You can do the same type of thing with like a storage unit. What would be ideal, and I have one coaching student that does this, is they didn't go to UPS. They went to a kind of a mom and pop store that does the exact same thing as a UPS store. And they look, because if you Google a UPS store, you can kind of tell that it's a UPS store. But if it's like this mom and pop store, it looks more like a retail store. If you have a friend or a family member that owns a business and has a commercial spot, see if they'll let you use their commercial address. If possible, you can have your product shipped to them and then you can go pick it up. Otherwise, you can still ship to your residential, but you're using their address as your commercial address. You can also sublet small parts of a warehouse. So if you have like an industrial complex close to your place, go talk to some local business owners and see if they will allow you to ship your product to their warehouse. And then they'll let you know like when it's there and you go pick it up. And you can just sublet essentially like a small corner of the back of their warehouse there. So, some creative ideas. Again, it's not necessary. My wife and I built our $1 million Amazon wholesale business with our residential address. So you can do it with a residential address. It is a little bit harder and you will get a lot more no's. One thing we noticed when we got that first commercial address is we went from like 1 out of every 40, maybe 50 requests to about 1 in every 15 or so that approve us for a wholesale account. In fact, when we got that first commercial address, we then went back to a lot of the people that told us no, and several of them said yes at that point and allowed us to set up an account. So it does go a long way if you can find a way to set it up. So I do see. So I'm not seeing all these questions as I go along. I will make sure we get them addressed at the end for sure. But one question I see in here is about a prep center. You can use your prep center commercial address. Just know if the brand, if Google searches it, they'll see that it's a prep center. It may or may not help in a scenario like that. But if it's a brand that's going to tell you no because of a residential address, then you're not in any worse position anyways. So it could only help. I don't see it negatively impacting. So make sure we have all that. So the insurance, obviously insurance has kind of been a huge thing lately, at $10,000 or more a month. Ashland Haddon is highly recommended for all your insurance needs. So this kind of goes back to our business model. Just look through some of the questions here before we go any further. A Shopify website is great. You can build your value prop right within the Shopify website. It doesn't really matter who hosts it. I do have a post that's scheduled to come out at 5 o'clock. You can see that here in about a half hour. But Humminbird also has an offer. We've partnered with Humminbird to create websites. So for anybody who wants a website done for you, we have like done for you websites through Humminbird. The post that'll come out in a half hour here will have a link to an application. Just fill out your contact information and they'll reach out to you to set that up. It's going to cost less than $500. You can talk to Nathan Bailey, Matt Thompson, that group there, but the link is what you want to fill out for that. So, all right, so back to this here. Our business model is all about replenishables. So this training is definitely going to focus on wholesale, but I don't want anybody to think that when you're moving into wholesale, you have to abandon your replens. We still have our replens. We love our replens. For us, it's all about all things replenishable. So I don't think we really need to go through any definitions here of replens or replenishable arbitrage. I think this group understands that stuff quite well. Wholesale is buying through distributors, wholesalers, brand direct, or directly through the manufacturer. I'm going to call it brand direct a lot through this training. When I talk brand direct, I'm talking the manufacturer. So like with Nike shoes, you're buying it from Nike, brand direct from Nike. That is our preferred method of wholesale. It's the hardest account to get for sure. But once you get that account, it lasts the longest. You have pricing protection through MAP, minimum advertised price agreements. You have a relationship directly with the brand. And that's what wholesale is all about. It's all about relationships. And where relationships with store managers are great for replens, relationship directly with the brand is a lot better. Because you're removing people from the supply chain and you're going directly with the very people that control the brand and the supply chain. I definitely feel that wholesale is scalable. We love wholesale because of its scalability. It is less risky than private label. In many cases, I feel it's even less risky than replens, just because from like an IP and counterfeit standpoint, we tend to only get those IP claims, those counterfeit claims through through the replen products. We don't see them in wholesale. And the reason for that is because we have permission directly from the brand to sell these products when we're doing wholesale. So, and that's why I feel that wholesale is even a little bit less risky. Obviously, you got provable demand using tools like Keepa. And so our approach is hybrid. It's replens, it's wholesale, it's all things replenishable for us. So, and honestly, if they're done right, they can complement each other. We have found lots of wholesale products through our replens, and we've even found replens through our wholesale. All right. So we've kind of got the basics of who I am, and what we kind of offer here down. Now, I want to talk about what I call the 8 foundations for success. Now, we're not going to go through all of these, but these are the 8 foundations that I build my coaching strategies and everything I coach. I build around these 8 foundations because I think they're very important to make sure that we have all of them nailed down. So just real quick, you've got these 8 foundations are 1, competition analysis. So being able to understand and analyze your competition so that you understand how the buy box rotates. So we will talk a little bit here about buy box rotation theory and my take on it. Number 2 is profit analysis. We use RevSeller. There are lots of other great compatible tools out there, FBA calculator, other services. But you need a RevSeller type tool to be able to do a quick and accurate profit analysis. Historical analysis, number 3. We use Keepa for that. I think it's the best tool in the market. It is your most important tool. We will not ever go away from Keepa. And so number 3, we're not going to do a deep dive into Keepa. I'm pretty confident that most people joining this group have a basic. If you don't, maybe leave some comments in the group and we can provide other resources, but there are places within the Replen course and other courses in PAC that can help you learn and understand Keepa. So for brevity's sake, we're not going to dive into Keepa, but just know that we definitely feel that is a huge part of your foundation. We like to do an IP risk analysis of products. We use AZ Alert by ASIN Zen. You can also use IP alert. It's just good to know if a product is known for counterfeit or trademark infringement type claims, so we know to avoid those. Number 5 in our foundations for success is sourcing. We've got manual methods, and of course, the focus of this training is going to be our Smart Scout tool. So sourcing is huge. It's where we're going to find our profitable products. But as you can see here, it's really only one piece of our foundations here. So number 6, inventory prep, planning, and management. Also something that we won't do a really deep dive into because of the focus of this training being wholesale. It is something that we cover pretty well in our in-person training here at Mesa, Arizona, if you want to come visit us here. But most people, I think, within this community like Replan Dashboard for that. I personally love a tool called SoStocked. So we might talk about that a little bit, but probably pretty little. Number 7, we're definitely going to go into this: partnering, adding value, building relationships, negotiating. It's the relationship part of your business. It's important within Replans, but it's vitally important within wholesale. And then number 8, like I said in my story, we became our own bottleneck, right? We could not break past that $1 million a year mark, just my wife and I. And it wasn't until we started building a team and putting people in place that we were able to start growing and expanding. So you can do that through a lot of ways: virtual assistants, different gig workers, softwares. It's more than just adding people. And so it's another piece that we'll touch on briefly on week 7, but definitely something we cover more in depth in our in-person. But so in my opinion, these are your 8 foundations for success. If you can nail down all 8 of these, your potential on Amazon or Walmart.com or any e-commerce platform it's unlimited, right? So focus on these. Make sure you got all of these dialed down. In our training for this purpose, we're really going to focus on number 5, and we're going to focus on number 7. All right, so tools that are definitely needed here: Keepa, RevSeller, or an equivalent to RevSeller, right? Either AZ Alert or IP Alert, DS Amazon Quick View. You just need the free version. You don't need to get into that paid version. Smart Scout is, again, this whole training is going to be based off of using Smart Scout as an incredible tool for wholesale. And really, once you learn how to do it, you'll notice and you'll quickly pick up how you can use it in your Replan business too. Vendrive is a CRM that we highly recommend. Vendrive is what we use to track our contacts and make note of when we've called them and when we've emailed them and all of that throughout the process, right? SoStocked for us, it's our best forecasting tool that we have found. If you're using Replan Dashboard, keep using Replan Dashboard. It's also a great tool. Seller Board, I think, is an amazing tool that helps us know our numbers. It helps track profitability. It can help get money back from Amazon. It does our inventory reports. A lot of great stuff in there. Aura is our repricer of choice. There's a lot of other good ones out there. Inventory Labs, obviously a favorite among Amazon seller. And then we got our scanning tools. So these are the tools that you would use to run Excel sheets through when you get an Excel sheet back from your wholesale supplier, often they'll have 10,000 plus products on there. So you'll want to run it through a scanner. Price Checker 2 is a great one. Analyzer Tool is a good one. And then, of course, the other necessity is your value proposition website. So if you have questions about any of these, we can talk about it after we go through the presentation. We can talk about it offline during the week through questions on the Facebook group as well. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the competition analysis part of it. So this is the buy box rotation theory that I wanted to talk about. We do need to be able to identify who our competition is and their chance at getting the buy box, and that sort of thing. So let me just populate this whole thing first here. So these are the different competitors that we'll see on Amazon. So we do have sold by Amazon retail. I don't have them as our direct competition, and largely because we don't like to compete against Amazon. If we see Amazon.com on the listing, especially in the world of wholesale, the brand is not going to give you the account. And so we don't compete with them. And we also don't reach out to those brands where Amazon is on the account. So I don't consider them competition because I choose not to compete against them. Private label sellers. So these are those smaller brands where they are selling their own product. They do not want third-party sellers selling their products. So we don't consider them competition either because we're not going to source from private label sellers either. Chinese sellers, they're not our competition. We stay off listings where all the sellers are Chinese sellers. Fulfilled by merchant sellers, I don't consider them much competition either because as an FBA seller, we're going to dominate the buy box, right? They typically, as FBA sellers, need to be 10% cheaper than us, often more, in order to get the buy box. Now that's speaking in very general, broad terms, right? So we do know that FBM gets the buy box. We do know that in certain situations where I think fourth quarter, I think we're going to see that a lot here, where fulfilled by merchant sellers are going to get the buy box based on inventory positions of FBA sellers and based on Amazon trying to put some of the workload on us third-party sellers. But as a general rule, FBA sellers will get a larger percentage of the buy box. So for us, that's where the competition really is identifying FBA sellers that are typically within 2 or 3% of the buy box price. That is where the bulk of our competition comes from. And now understanding that, we can kind of understand like how the buy box is going to rotate. Just skim through this really quick. All right, so part of our competition analysis is just going through this checklist, right? Is the product sold by Amazon? Is it a private label seller? Is it a Chinese seller? If the answer is yes, then this is not a good wholesale opportunity, and we're going to move on. If the answer is no, then we're going to continue through the product evaluation. Is it FBA or FBM? If it's FBA, if there is no FBA, this is a great opportunity because we're likely going to dominate the buy box. And if there's one or more competitive FBA offers, we're going to share that buy box, right? So to determine the number of competitive offers, we like to look at the FBA offers that are within 2% of the buy box price. You can do this also within Keepa. We love to use the Keepa buy box statistics to determine how the buy box has been rotating statistically, right? So you just go to data, buy box statistics, and you can see kind of a percentage of who's getting the buy box. And we can just kind of take a guess as to what our cut will be when we start selling that product, right? So you can then calculate your estimated monthly sales using Keepa buy box. Using Keepa, we also like to use the Jungle Scout Sales Estimator tool. They have to be really careful when you do this. Make sure you're using the average ranks and not current ranks when you do this. So we'll get into that a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to briefly cover what this competition analysis is. So we'll take that estimated number of sales, we'll divide it by the number of competitive sellers plus us, and that's what we look at as our expected sales equity, or what we expect to get in our sales. So all of this we're going to dive into as we start sourcing these products. So this is just kind of a high level of what the competition analysis that we do. I did want to cover it briefly here so that when we see it again in the coming weeks, you have some point of reference, right? So when we talk about buy box rotation here, which is the main purpose of what I wanted to get to with this foundation is what is the buy box? How does the buy box rotate? What does that mean to us, right? So if you have not seen my Proven Conference presentation, definitely refer back to that. But so essentially the strategy or the theory that I believe is these are the top 5 factors in determining who gets the buy box, right? So you have one, it's competitive price. The most important determining factor in who gets the buy box is the price. Amazon, the whole idea of the buy box is to present the best offer to Amazon's customer, right? So in most cases, that is price. So our strategy is either to match the buy box, be a penny above the buy box, or 1% above the buy box. Don't undercut FBA. Don't be that guy that comes in and beats the price by a penny. Either match it or go somewhere above it. I do believe there is a 2% FBA rule, meaning if you are priced within 2% of the lowest FBA price, you have the highest potential to get the buy box. Now, that's not to say if you're 3% or 5% above that you won't get a share. You just may not get an equitable share of that buy box rotation, right? So I also feel that there is a 10% FBM rule, meaning you can be priced as an FBA offer, you can be priced about 10% above FBM as your competition and still get the buy box. That's how important number 2 is to this to the buy box rotation. It's the fulfillment method. Amazon definitely prefers FBA. They make more money, they control the supply chain, and so they give preference to us FBA sellers. And so that is also our strategy. The number 3 most important determining factor is your inventory levels. And this is kind of where I preach a little bit different, I think, than what is commonly taught within the community. I do like to start and go a little bit deeper because of inventory placement. So I like to start at 12, 24 units based on demand of the product. But what this does is it helps Amazon disperse my inventory across the country better. If I'm sending in 12 units of a product for my test run, which is a typical case size in wholesale, then Amazon can divide those 12 units up across the country much better than if I'm shipping in 3 or 4. And so I will get inventory spread out across the country. And so, you know, I'm shipping here in Arizona. Most of our shipments go to Nevada, the Vegas area, Henderson, I believe. And so when my inventory gets there, Amazon's going to put it on trucks and they're going to split it up all over the place, right? If I was only shipping in 3 or 4 units, most of my inventory would probably stay right here on the West Coast. Meaning if somebody logged in from Florida or from New York or anywhere on the East Coast or anywhere in the Midwest, probably, my offer would not be the best offer because I don't have local inventory, right? So by sending in more units and testing at a higher quantity, we're able to get the buy box at a higher percentage. So it plays into our testing phase, but it also just plays into just how we like to stock to begin with. And then number 4, number 5, they're pretty closely related: account health, seller rating, keeping your account in good health and keeping your seller reviews high and getting through your first 6-month kind of probationary period with Amazon. It all helps to build your credibility with Amazon and get you the buy box a little bit more often. So I do believe that there are some additional ways to increase your buy box capture rate as well. And that's through PPC ads and coupons. We have noticed that coupons, especially where it doesn't create the race to the bottom because other sellers, repricers don't detect coupons. So you can price it the same. You can have your 5% off coupon, but then Amazon's going to give you a higher percentage of the buy box based on your offer being better. So it does get you into the buy box better, but you just have to make sure that there's enough margin in those products to be able to do stuff like that. So, but all of these 5 factors with the bonus in there plays into how the buy box rotates. So again, it's just some basic, this is not wholesale related necessarily, but just some basic theory on how the buy box rotates, why that's important. Obviously, if you're not getting the buy box, you're not getting sales. So just kind of want to run through that pretty quickly. We're not going to dive into RevSeller, but RevSeller is that foundation of understanding your profit analysis. So definitely figure out RevSeller. We can talk about this offline if you have questions about RevSeller. Our ideal profit, you know, in wholesale, we're looking for products that have 16% profit margin or better. We want at least a 30% ROI. Now, really, like, we would love higher. We'd love 40, we'd love 50, but these are kind of that ideal to lowest recommendation. The 10% profit, 20% ROI really is super low. We'll get into the different wholesale strategies and why some people who do pursue wholesale are comfortable going as low as 10% profit, 20% ROI. To be completely transparent, we run our business at a gross profit margin of 19% profit margin. Our ROI is a little over 40%. So we're definitely looking for those higher profit products. But there are, if you look at the mega sellers of the world, they're running sub 10% profit margin. They're running, you know, 20% ROI. So an important term to know in wholesale is keystone pricing. Keystone pricing is basically 50%, where wholesale cost is 50% off of MSRP. So we're going to be looking for that quite a bit. And then, of course, Keepa is a huge important part of your historical data and pricing analysis. So one of those 8 foundations. We're not going to do a deep dive into Keepa here. I'm confident that most people in this group have a pretty basic understanding of Keepa. And so this is something that you can definitely reference. You can definitely reference. If you need to, I would definitely go to Jimmy's course. He's got some really good Keepa information. There's a lot of good Keepa information in the group, but obviously it's super important. So I wanted to talk about it. Okay. Now that really covers the foundational part of what I wanted to talk about.